2, 1. Welcome back to the Garden Hutch. Today we're going to discuss our upcoming video series, starting your summer plants from seed. Let's get going. For many of us, the idea of starting our own summer plants from seed can be a bit intimidating, and for me, when I started, it was pretty scary. Also, if you go and buy your seeds from a local store, they can be relatively expensive. They can also have a limited supply. So for those reasons, we've decided to bring you folks along on an 8-week journey from seed to the garden. Let's talk a minute about what this series is going to be and what it's not going to be. The first thing is, it's going to be for anybody from a novice all the way through a moderate gardener, anybody who's tried in the past to grow seeds and have failed for whatever reason, or if you just haven't decided to try because you were a little intimidated by it, or perhaps you thought it was going to take a huge amount of resources and just wasn't worth the trouble. So that's who the video series is going to be for. What it is not. This is not a master class on seed to garden. I am not a master gardener trying to teach you all the ins and outs. I want this series to be for people kind of like I was a couple years ago. When I first started this, I watched a lot of videos online and I listened to a lot of experts, and a lot of the jargon and things they used was a bit over my head at that time. Also, I found that a lot of the small steps and a lot of the things I had issues with, they sort of took for granted and never addressed. So given that, I thought it would be fun to bring all you along while we do this. So for those of you who would like to grow along with us at home, there are going to be a few things that we're going to need. The first thing that we're going to need are going to be containers. I brought these out. These are just some that we've saved over the years. I'm sure if you've gardened in the past, you have some. If not, if you have a neighbor, friends, or family or anything, they probably have extras. And last case scenario, you could probably go online and find them. They are dirt cheap, but you have to buy, like 100 of them or so at the time. But they really are cheap, and delivery is free if you have like an Amazon account or whatever. The next thing that you're going to need is just a cheap bag of potting mix. Now, I recommend getting the cheapest bag of potting mix that you can find. The potting mix that are in these here, we kind of make that here because we have the stuff on hand to do it. But for the sake of this video series, I am also going to go buy just a bag of potting mix, and I'm going to get the absolute cheapest thing that I can find. In that same note, I like to move my potting mix from a bag into a bucket just because it keeps dirt off the floor and things, and it keeps Leslie from yelling at me about making a mess. You don't have to do that. It's completely optional, but if you have an extra bucket or a large container, you might want to grab one of those as well. The next thing that you're going to need is you're going to need some way to water your plant cells. This is what I use here when in my seed starting. It's just an extra or an old soda bottle. And I don't know if you can see that, but all I do is I just took a pocket knife and I make 3 equal-sized holes in the top of the lid and put it on there. Here, I'll show you real quick. And what it does is it just allows the water to come out, and it doesn't come out super fast. So on your seedlings, it's really gentle, works better than a large hand waterer, and it's significantly cheaper, which is a big thing that we like to do here on the homestead. As much money as we can save, we're going to. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is you're going to need like a basin. This right here is a heat dome. That is just a bottom watering tray is what they call them. Either one of these things are acceptable. You could also use a baking sheet if it has a high enough lip on it. You could use a sink, or you could even use a bathtub if you don't have any problems getting those things dirty. What I generally use though is I use just these old tray holders in order to do that. Now, when we go to start these, we are also going to need to identify ahead of time a southern facing window. So now's a good time to to start paying attention. Right now it's the end of January, and we're not going to start this series for about 4 weeks. So just kind of keep an eye on throughout the day. You're going to want about, 6 to 7 hours of sunlight coming through the window, and it needs to be in a place that is relatively warm. Most of us keep our houses, you know, somewhere between 68 and 75, I think is on average, and that is more than warm enough to germinate a lot of the seeds. The last thing here in this video, or this part of the video, I'm sorry, that I want to discuss are the actual seeds themselves. Of course, you're going to need to have those purchased so that we can put them in the seed trays. What I'm going to grow tomatoes in these, and then I'm going to use the rest of these. We have quite a few of them. We're also going to do eggplant, peppers, and ground cherries. Now, those are going to be what we focus on predominantly here in the gardening series. That doesn't mean you can't get other things, especially if you want to put them in for the summer, or if you would also like to follow these steps to get some like maybe lettuce or beets or onions, any of these things that we have growing now that we're going to put out early. You can also do any of those in March when we start this series as well and put those in the garden. They'll just go in sooner than the other vegetables will. Two more things before we move on. Let me start with, please get yourself some cinnamon. I'll explain more whenever we get to the seed starting part of the video, but it's going to save you a lot of headache. Here at our local grocery store, you can get cinnamon, like the cheapest cinnamon, and that's all you need. You can get it for like 89 cents for one of the little containers, and that will be more than enough to last you for a couple years. Secondarily, I wanted to mention from a supply standpoint, keep your eyes open for small usable greenhouses. We have this one back here. We got it for less than $50, believe it or not. We also have the small ones that we have inside that we got for like $22 or $23 off of Amazon. They've got like 5 racks. It's just a place for you to put your vegetable, or put your seeds, I'm sorry, outside, that keeps them away from the elements such as the wind, or if it's a cold day, like 40 degrees or so, you're not going to want your summer plants sitting outside in that. But if you put them in something like this, it's going to raise that temperature up to probably around 60 to 65 degrees. So this series will start on Friday, March 3rd, and that's when we're going to be putting the seeds in your potting soil and getting them started. Every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for the next 8 weeks, right up until we put them in the ground in late April or early May, we will do an update here on the channel to walk you through it. Now, through this entire process, you are inevitably going to have questions, as did I. I'm also going to make mistakes that I'll update here on the channel and sort of share all of our experiences as we go along. For your questions, you can put them in the comments section below if you need to have any questions, you know, about this video or the videos as they come out. The comment section will be a great place. I will also link our Facebook page in the description below. Now, I'm not a social media person, but my wife has made a Facebook page here for the Garden Hutch, and she'll be monitoring it. And between the two of us, we hope to answer any questions that you have. Before I let you folks go, I just wanted to mention here at the end, if there is any additional information I feel you may need before we begin this series, I'll just put it into our weekly homestead review. That comes out Mondays, 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Until next time, I hope all you folks take care of yourselves. Peace.